I am waiting for all of the lovely little stuff to say that we are good, we are live, you know, and then I'm going to get going. And I'm excited. We are going to, I'm actually really excited. We're going to see how long this one takes today. I try to keep these around 15 to 20 minutes, but this topic today is pretty juicy. We're going to be talking about cults today, my dear friends. Oh boy. Yes, we are. Yikes. Uh, I've got all sorts of notes here, but we're going to start with the definition of cult, right? As we do, just making sure that all of us are on the same page. We're coming at this from the same point of view. If you were to go look up, which I did, look up the definition of a cult, there's a couple of different, definitions like in the actual dictionary. A system of religious veneration and devotion directed towards a particular figure or object, right? I loved this one. A relatively small group of people having religious beliefs or practices regarded by others as strange or sinister. And then this one, a misplaced or excessive admiration for a particular person or thing. And I think that's a little bit closer to where we're going. But I did like Wikipedia had a definition that I really appreciated a bit more. And so that's what we're going to use to kind of level set ourselves here today. And that is a cult is a term in most contexts project. I don't even know. Not friendly. I don't know what that word is, but it's not usually a good thing, is what this word means. For a relatively small group, which is typically led by a charismatic and self-appointed leader who excessively controls its members, requiring unwavering devotion to a set of beliefs and practices which are considered deviant. And I'm going to tell you why we're talking about this. There has been kind of an influx. I don't know if this is just one of those things like you're aware of it, so you see it, right? It's always been there, but you're just now aware of it, so you see it more often. But there seems to have been this influx of movies and documentaries and things of that nature that are highlighting some of these individuals that are like here in the spiritual space, like here and now. We have, if we think about like long standing, I think most people when they think of like a cult are going to go back to like Charles Manson, right? Whoa, that's a whoa one. I mean, we could go into conspiracy on that one that is just crazy, including that the government was in, Jim Jones, right? Ever heard of the word drink the Kool-Aid? Heaven's Gate. Heaven's Gate was crazy. I was actually surprised when I saw there's like How to Become a Cult Leader. That's one of the documentaries on Netflix. Watched all of those. And I guess I was kind of shocked. And I'm pretty positive that's the one that talked about Heaven's Gate. And I was kind of shocked at like how recent that even is. And so it was like 1997, right? That these folks like kind of mass suicide. You've got David Koresh, which once again, when I was younger, so 97 was the year that I graduated high school. 93 would have been David Koresh down in Waco, Texas, right? So this is not like, we're not talking about like cults of like hundreds of, like this is a real time. And I've got a couple of, examples that are like even right now, right now. And so I'm going to talk to you first, though, why we're talking about these. Why are cults? Why are cults dangerous? I'm not gonna share like why I'm sharing this with you, but why are cults dangerous? Um, and I think the very first thing is these cults, whether or not, and I think sometimes cults can form without the intention of it, right? But these cults are literally intending to override your own sovereignty, right? Your own, like who you are and defining yourself and your beliefs and your like, this is me, this is what I mean. I'm in control of all of this, right? They intend to override your own sovereignty and have you adopt their beliefs as your own. So it's like this really dangerous place of that if you yourself have not reached like your own sovereign being of like, here's my beliefs, this is what I believe in, this is what important, this is what my passion is, right? If you're like in that limbo state, they can literally introduce their own beliefs, right? And you may take them on as your own sovereign beliefs. I mean, it is so dangerous, so dangerous. And they do this over time. It's not like you walk in, there's a big gigantic sign on the door like, welcome to the cult. meeting this week. Hi, my name is Jen. I love to be a part of this cult. This is amazing. It's not like that. This is stuff that happens slowly over time, right? It may be even matter of like you are at first just kind of like maybe hanging out in a Facebook group or hanging out just watching an IG or a TikTok. You're hanging in the comments. Maybe you then move into the DMs. Maybe you then engage in some of their, activities. This is slowly over time, right? Um, and it's not uncommon. I have heard this before in some of the documentaries. I've heard this before with some of the people that I've talked to in person. They say like they just kind of woke up one day and were like, "Oh shit, I'm like not myself." Like, what's going on? I mean, some people don't wake up. I have a couple of really, and then some people don't even have a choice. Let's be real. If you're a child and you happen to grow up in like a cult or a cult type, like you don't even have a fucking choice. It's pretty wild. So they're dangerous for these reasons. And then it kind of makes you lose yourself. And when you lose yourself and who you are, and you have adopted other people's beliefs, you may do things you normally would not do. Okay. Um, think about the ones that I've already mentioned. Charles Manson, you had a group of individuals that literally walked into a home and murdered a bunch of people. Right? You think about Heaven's Gate, Jim Jones, right? Both of these are groups where they committed mass suicide, right? Like, what? What? Um, and you've got, David Koresh, who literally locked down, and these folks lost their own lives, like literally, digging their heels into the ground and standing up for their rights. I mean, these are very, very drastic things. They're not like here in the right here and now, but if you go and you watch, there are two documentaries that like How to Become a Cult Leader looks a lot at these older ones, but there are two that are out there. And one is, forgive me, I think I don't remember what they're both on. Um, I don't, but one is around the Twin Flames University, and the other one is called Around Love Has Won. And these are two organizations that folks are now looking at inwardly and recognizing as a cult. And right, if you're a part of it and you like stumbled onto this and you're like, wow, that doesn't make any sense. Like, you once again get to choose your own beliefs. If those are your beliefs and you did not adopt them because somebody else, gave them to you to like embrace, I'm cool with that. Like that's good. But if you by chance, stepped in and are starting to like go, oh my God, like really like, and asking, do you really believe these things? Are these your truths? And your body somatically is responding like, fuck yeah, those are my truths. I'm not like, cool, stick around. But for those of you that are wondering that something feels a little bit off, something feels a little bit strange in those, right? Like it could be because you're starting to recognize that your own sovereign self is not able to be who you truly are meant to be, and that you've been enveloped into these cults. And so I'm going to give you an example. Twin Flames University, that particular one that just like really blew my mind. There's a whole slew of things if you watch that. But one, there was someone that was very young that was instructed to kind of be involved, establish a intimate romantic and sexual relationship. They were young, like 18 or 19, with somebody that was like 12 years their senior. And they felt like things were off, but no, they were told like, this is your twin flame. You need to do this. And lo and behold, just from some of the stories, it sounded like this was a gentleman that might have been, had some mental health issues, may have been struggling with addiction, things of that nature. And so this young individual went and put themselves into this situation. And so that to me is like, woo, once again, extreme examples here. But if you like, it could be a matter of like, you were forced to like, you were strongly encouraged to do X, Y, and Z. And I'm going to tell you like how to identify some of these things, right? So I'm giving you extreme, but these could be these could be macro examples of little micro examples you could be experiencing. The other one with Twin Flames is they started to have people really challenge their own gender identity. I mean, it was mind blowing. And so they would have these people starting to like switch their identity, start to identify now as a feminine energy versus a masculine energy. And it's just like, once again, like, if that's what you want to do, like if that's your choice, that's cool. But like, you got to ask yourself, is this my truth or somebody else telling me? Because our truth only comes from our own higher self, our connection to our holy guardian angel, right? Our connection to the divine, our connection to God. That is the only place that the truth comes from, right? You may have somebody else like a me that's talking and sharing, and you're like, cool, that's a great message, but I am not meant to be like worshipped and followed, right? So you got to kind of look at these scenes and these situations. The next one is Love Has Won, and that one was yesterday, and that was the one that triggered today's episode. Holy shit. Cults will often have you ostracize your family, which happened in this particular one. But like this individual, this leader literally left, walked away from, she had 3 kids when she walked away, and which was like, that in itself was just kind of like a bit of a shock, right? Of like, wow, right? Um, but she went and she ostracized her own family. And then my partner pointed this out and said, don't you find it interesting that she stopped being a mother to her children and then created an identity that she was a mother to the earth? I mean, isn't there a little bit of a weird message in that? Um, but the other piece too is like, if that particular one, folks were literally participating in active addiction. Not only was there a severe and dramatic use of drugs and alcohol, but literally to the point of they had adopted this belief. There was part of this like ingrained in that belief, right? And so for somebody that's a recovering alcoholic, watching that yesterday was horrifying. Horrifying. My partner and I are both in recovery from alcohol, and we were just like, we felt our hearts hurt so much, so much, because that particular group of individuals had come to believe so strongly that like drug use and alcohol use and like all of these things, these are like really, really low vibrational activities, right? Starvation. Fasting can be very, very good for your spiritual health, but forcing other individuals into like starvation and it not being their choice, right? And like the alcohol, she was literally saying alcohol was her medicine, right? And then on top of it, she was consuming colloidal silver, which has a lot of health benefits if you're in the naturopath world, but she was doing it so much to the point that at the very end, her literal body had started to turn this tinge of blue that was a result of the amount of silver, colloidal silver, that was literally in her tissues and organs. And so these people were literally participating in her active addiction and were not even willing to go and step out and get her help because she had instilled such strong beliefs in them that she didn't want any, like 3D hospitals were no good, right? I mean, it's just like mind blowing, right? So these are why cults can be dangerous. They can literally lead you to do things you normally would not do in a healthy spiritual environment. So, which may make you wonder, like, oh shit, how do I identify if something is a cult, I'm around a cult, I'm in a cult, anything of that nature. And so, number one, you will have certain organizations that will joke about being cult, being part of a cult, or we're cult-like, or, and they think it's fun and joking. And I remember I had a business coach, probably like 2 years ago, and said, like, what kind of like community and group do you want to have? And she's like, do you want it to be like a cult-like feeling? And I was like, I was kind of shocked she said that. Right? I was really shocked she said that because I was like, hell no. Oh God, no. But so if they are literally claiming that, talking about it, or even saying like they're not, if they're using the word cult in any of their marketing, maybe might be a cult. The other thing too, and you can go look, like I searched a couple of articles this morning just to make sure that, some of the hits that I was getting to share with you were also things that folks had shared. Um, And so there's this other really interesting one, and that's around any kind of like feedbacks or questioning, right? Questioning around the programming, questioning around what needs to be done, questioning around the expectations, providing feedback and saying, I didn't understand that. That seemed weird. What if we did it this way? That's typically squashed, right? There's like a dramatic response to healthy feedback or questions, right? So it's like, and it'll feel like you'll be like, right? But things will keep going. There'll be this like moment of like, this kind of this somatic or even mental response to like, I, I just, I just told them they like their volume was low, right? Like it's like really weird. So there'll be these like unhealthy or like overly dramatic responses to questions or feedback. And so, how this might also show up is you'll be provided clarity in what is allowed and is not allowed, what is helpful for feedback, what is not helpful for feedback, like these kind of like it's very, very kind of like rigid, and to the point that it starts to prohibit people. Like they're like, oh shit, I don't want to give the feedback or ask a question in the wrong way, so they will stop giving feedback, stop asking questions, right? And if you've ever provided that, here's the other key: if you've ever provided asked a question or provided any type of feedback, and your emotional response to what was said or given back to you was any type of guilt or shame, there you go, right? So those are absolute signs that it's cult-like energy, right? um Absolute signs. Like, I think of myself as a servant leader. So if you ask a question or you provide feedback, I'm here to be of service to you, right? That is what I'm here to do. And I've done that throughout my corporate career all my life, being in a leadership role for the last 20 years. Another one is there's a lot of do as I say, not as I do. So there'll be a ton of hypocrisy or double talk, right? They'll say one thing, they'll do another. They'll be like, this is okay. And then you'll be like, wait a second. They'll be like, oh, you know what? The divine powers of being have spoken to me, and and so they will often use that divinity or their own connection directly with like their guides, or and try to share messages and like justify shifts or changing or hypocrisy or double talk. Well, they said it is okay for me, but you guys that are still learning cannot, right? um this is another one that really kind of this one really boils my blood here. And that is, you'll have individuals within that organization whose specific responsibility is to kind of act like a spy, right? And this could be folks in that are just been around for a longer time than you, right? It could be somebody that's just been around 3 months longer, a week longer, right? But they'll become this cultural, like underlying unspoken rule of, you need to tell someone when you see anyone not happy or venturing out of the path that is expected, right? So there'll be these spies, and their whole intention is to really highlight anyone, and to bring to light anyone that may challenge the power that the authority figure has. So that being said, there's typically going to be a very distinctive hierarchy in roles, right? So this person does this person that. But the interesting thing is they never will be consistently upheld or understood how folks get to it, right? We just talked about all that shifting and changing. It might be one day this person's a lead, this person's the next day not. And it's often because these decisions are made through very emotional responses. Oh, well, so-and-so no longer believed with what I agreed with how I wanted to do things, so they're out. We're not going to come to some kind of leadership collaboration and cohesiveness. We're just going to kick them out because I've got the power, and yeah, so on and so forth, right? You kind of feel what I'm saying, right? So there's this very distinctive hierarchy, but there's no real understanding of like how someone gets to that position. What is even the what happens if, like, let's say the, earthbound God dies. Like, perfect example is in that one documentary. What happens then to the group? So if that's not clear of like where the succession plan is, how the leader actually, all of that kind of good stuff, then there's the sign of the cult. There'll also be, there'll be poor transparency in any type of financial budget. And so often these like organizations will get to a point that they'll start referring to themselves as family. They want you more involved. They may actually want you participating for free, volunteering your time. They may even make some promises of like, oh, don't worry about it. We'll get to that at some point. And I will tell you, this is 100% my hesitation of ever asking anybody for help is this particular one here, because there are so many folks that organize, have organizations that lean into the cult like of space that are abusing and using their members to further their own uh, achievements. And so that is one of the things. So if there is poor transparency into the financial budget, so let's say you are, really helping to contribute and it's not being shared of like what that money is and where it's going and how much is coming in and all of the expenses. Like if you by chance are working within a group in an organization and volunteering your time and are not able to say, hey, can we talk about what the actual financial health of this organization is and can't get a positive answer and response, then it's probably you're probably dancing around a cult there. Now, don't get me wrong. If there may be businesses that are really hesitant and things of that nature, but I would hope, that is a healthy sign. That is a healthy sign. I'll tell you, I personally would have no issue and have done just as such with the team members that have been willing to volunteer, and help me out every now and again. I put this note down here. So many of these groups consider themselves family, and yet any collaboration around financial health doesn't exist, right? And I don't know about you, but I will tell you, when you are in a family unit, mother and father, adult, like they work together as a unit to make sure that the financial health is healthy, right? This is the other one too, right? Folks that are followers or part of the family that are not part of leadership. I mean, even if you're part of leadership, you may still feel this, right? Are going to have feelings of not being good enough, not being worthy, feeling like they have to prove themselves. Like, if I only did this, if I do that, if I do this, right? Like like magical fairy sprinkle dust is going to come over you, and now you're going to be seen as something spectacular and amazing. Yeah. And then I put this note down, almost as though you're privileged. If you are in an organization and you are under this impression that you're like privileged to be a part of it, and I don't mean like your efforts. So for example, if you busted your ass in college, so I went to college, I was invited into an honors fraternity, right? And I don't share that with everybody, but I am a part of an honors fraternity, right? And so, like, that is a privilege. I did a lot of really hard work to get there, right? But if we're talking about just being part of an organization or part of a community or a family, somebody that calls themselves a family, there is not a privilege to be a part of a family, right? It's like, yeah, it just fucking sounds really shitty. So why am I sharing all of this with you? I hope that at this particular point you may understand why, but I'm going to reiterate that before we call it a day here today, because let's see, how long have I been rambling about this lovely topic? Ooh, we are over the 20 minutes. Number one, this shit is real. We are not talking about, books, fiction books right now. We're not talking about movies. We're talking about these stories have literally been shared in documentary. It is happening to folks out there right now here today. It may be happening to you. It may be happening to folks that you love. The danger is out there, my friends. It is out there. And, I hope that you are listening to this and you're in that situation, feel free to reach out and ask a couple questions of how you might be able to navigate your ass to get out of it. I'm happy to share. I'm absolutely happy to share. But this shit is real and the danger is out there. Last but not least, totally selfish on this, why I'm telling and sharing this with all of you. I don't want to lead a cult. I do not want to lead a fucking cult. Please don't ask me to ever lead one. Do not ever like put me on that pedestal. Keep me honest. If you feel like I am violating any of those things above that I've talked about, I need you to bring that up. I need you to share that. I don't want to lead a cult. I'm a collaborative leader. I am a servant leader. It is very strange to me to be in a position of power because I feel like I am, all I do when I put my arms around people and I lead is I literally do so like right there in the thick of things. Um, yeah, so that's my very, very, very selfish reason as to why I'm sharing all of this with you is please keep me honest, folks. I don't want to lead a cult. And if any of you ever feel like I'm saying something that indicates that, I'm doing something that indicates that, or, you're getting any of that energetic or feel any of the ways that I mentioned feeling, please let me know. Keep me honest, my dear friends. And go out and watch some, it's cold. The months are cold. Go watch some of these documentaries. They're pretty damn good. That being said, my dear friends, we are done for today. I am looking at my hair appointment because I just do not think that I've got enough pink in. So I'm going to get ready for that. And until next time, much love from me to all of you. Avoid the cult and let me know if you need some help getting out. Till next time.